Hello, welcome to 15 Minutes of Consulting Best Practices. My name is Maria Isabel Rios, and as you can see, it's just us today. But to make up for it, well, Jared and us, and except you can see Jared, and I cannot see you. So for those of you who are familiar with the space, the way I know you're here is if you drop a comment and add your questions. It takes me a minute to see them. So this is a space where I answer your questions about how to create success for you, for your consulting firm, and how to resolve any issues or any questions that are giving you pause today. So hello, John. Thank you for chiming in really quickly every time. I appreciate you. Bring in whatever it's top of mind for you today on this beautiful Monday to make up for the fact that I'm alone today. I have an announcement at the end of these 15 minutes, so stay with me, and then you get to hear all about what's coming up next. So as I have time, hello, Michael. Thank you for saying hi. As questions come in, Jaron, why don't you share a question that came in during the week so I can get started with that, and we can give Julia an answer to her question. So Julia asked, we scoped a primary market research survey and received an initial vendor quote of 12K, assuming 25 to 30 question survey. Okay, makes sense. We contracted with a client at 40K. The client was happy with our draft survey, but requested we align it with a previous survey of theirs. I agreed, assuming it would be a minor adjustment. Okay, makes sense. Oops, the alignment will double the length of the survey. And I just found out the vendor wants 21K. We already agreed to the broader survey. What should I do? Okay, so interesting, right? You went out, you quoted with the vendor, you then proposed fees to a client. The client asked for alignment, and now what you received as a requote from your vendor really squeezes your margins, right? How do you go back to a client? What do you do? How do you manage this situation? So first, Julia, thank you for sending your question. And also congrats on having a happy client, right, that wants to collaborate with you. This situation is a lot less tricky than it seems on the surface, because when you agreed to your client's request, you had made a reasonable assumption, or what seems to be a reasonable assumption. And it turns out you were wrong. It's not the first time it happens, I assume. It's not the last time it will happen. So have a conversation with your client. Tell them you were wrong. Talk them through them. Tell them that you need to talk them through them and ask them if that's okay. So yes, that's a rhetorical question. You're actually inviting your client to be collaborative with you, right? By asking them if that's okay. So in the conversation, you explain your assumption. You explain them that unfortunately it's having an impact on pricing, that it's not huge, but at the same time, it's not something you can absorb. And then you ask your client, is that something they want to do? Do they want to keep going with the expanded alignment of the questions? Do they want to go back to the original, or do they have another idea? So you basically involve your client in problem solving this financial difference and situation, right? It's impossible to predict what your client will do. But my hypothesis is that most clients will be really understanding, because we all make mistakes in the course of doing things. We all make hypotheses in our work, and your hypothesis is actually a reasonable one, right? Your assumptions that it was going to be a relatively low lift, and you said, yeah, I'll go ahead and do it in good faith. It's a pretty reasonable one. So try that, Julia. Let's see how your client reacts. Hopefully they'll react collaboratively, because you're inviting them through a rhetorical question to participate in problem solving. And that way you figure out what's the best path for your client together. Okay, let us know if that works. And for all of you here live today, if you have experience with this, if you have suggestions for Julia, experience of your own, or questions on your own from a scenario that it's similar or alike to this one, chime in as well with your own comments and questions. Okay, I see a question from John. What are your views on the impact of AI on the consulting industry? Ooh, thank you, John. right? It seems we talk about AI in everything we do. So a few general thoughts, and obviously this is an ongoing conversation for all of us, that it's very much alive, and it will continue to change as the capabilities of AI evolve over time and they get more and more embedded into our work. AI is basically kind of here to stay, and it's for us to learn how do we incorporate what AI brings to the table as a tool into how we deliver consulting. If you look at the MBBs, they're making huge investments into how they bring AI into their work, into the consulting work, to make it more efficient, to make it more effective, to incorporate tools into that really maximize our human ability to problem solve on top of AI. So one thing we want to be really mindful of is quality control on top of that. There are things we know today that we need to be mindful of, that when we have an AI product, we want to make sure we are putting our best ability and our still best thinking forward, and we're doing human kind of quality control on top of whatever the tool is helping us solve for. But generally, it's a no regret move. It's not something that we're going to be able to evolve. And for each one of us, depending on our area of specialty, we need to find ways and the right tools for us to integrate, to invest on. Now, there are some firms that are more innovative in investing and integrating AI into their work. And there are some firms that are more cautious. And this is the same with any technology and any technology product. Right, John, let me know if that answered your question. Happy Monday, Martin. What are your favorite icebreakers when meeting a new prospect for the first time to get the relationship off to a good start? All right, and I cannot see your name, so I would love to know what your name is so I can say a proper hello. Favorite icebreakers. It depends on the context, right? For us, one important element of building relationships is to be able to connect with a person. So anything that feels artificial, made up, not genuine, anything that will feel like not genuine to you, right? In the context of developing a relationship, will be in the boxes. This is not a good icebreaker, right? Anything that allows you to connect with a person, a great icebreaker. So in our world, that means you're right side up. You're interested in them. You make it about them. And because you're getting a relationship or you're getting to know somebody, there's a fine line between wanting to get to know somebody and being invasive, right? So ask somebody, what brought them there today? If you're in a networking event, who do they know? How do they came to know about the event? Or a question about something they just saw. What did they find the most interesting? You'll find something that feels genuinely you. Not that the next 5 times the person meets you, they will think, why did Maria Isabel ask me that question that day? That is so out of character for her. She must have reached out of her bag of icebreaker questions. Another good way to go about it, ask your friend AI, your favorite AI tool. Describe who you are, describe type of questions you want to ask, describe your personality a little bit, and tell them, what are questions that you would normally ask somebody you're meeting for the first time, if they're a business connection, if you want to genuinely connect with them or get to know them, that are non-invasive and that could lead to a conversation. Questions that show curiosity, that show interest, generally very good starting base, right? And questions that allow the other person to react in a similar way. So you can have a conversation that starts going back and forth and not that lead towards a dead end. All right, let me know if that helps. And if that fits with who you are and how you like to connect with people, which is very, very important. John, you said if they react poorly, that will tell you something about the client and your future relationship. I'm imagining you mentioned this in response to Julia's question about whether the client is willing to collaborate on fees or not. Yeah, I would think so. Though my hope is there's no reason for a client to react purely. All right, yes, and you're right, Daniel. David answered a similar question about AI on a podcast, and that's a great reference for folks who are curious and interested. They can look at a podcast up and go listen and then tell us, how did I do, right? How do our answers compare or not, right? And we can find a link to the conversation and post it, John, which is what you're asking as well, right? To the podcast episode as well for your reference. All right, keep asking questions, and that's how it goes. In the meantime, Jaren, if you want, I think there was another question that also came in. Thank you. Okay, Josh said, I am reaching out to my network and asking them to get into a meeting with me because I'm doing research that requires companies to take a diagnostic. Okay, very smart. Ideally, they agree to sign their company up for my diagnostic. Sometimes people get on a call and want to talk about something else. Of course, how can I discuss the diagnostic without coming across as a salesy or too pushy, as it may turn them off? Okay, so interesting situation, Josh, right? On the one hand, you have your diagnostic, you need more people, I'm assuming, to go through the diagnostic so you can get enough data in the diagnostic and get enough evidence. Thank you, Daniel, for confirming that I was very close to David's response. And back to Josh, right? On the other hand, Josh gets in conversations and people do not want to talk about the diagnostic at all, which to me sounds surprising, right? Because as the human beings that we are, we have our own agendas when we get into conversations. So it's an interesting question. I can empathize with Josh, who has an agenda. So Josh, here's the thing. Don't forget the purpose of the ultimate purpose of your diagnostic, which is, I presume, to serve your clients, right? That's why you're gathering data. That's why you're building this database, this knowledge base, which is to ultimately serve your clients better. So when you have an opportunity to get into a conversation with somebody who is a prospect, presumably, right? Because they must feed a certain set of parameters to be fit for your diagnostic. That's your North Star. Your North Star is to build connection and to be right side up, to make your conversation about them. So suggestion is start any conversation as you would any business development, client connection, even any client work conversation with the right side up inquiry, asking what would make the meeting useful, valuable, helpful for them. And if they actually have a need that has nothing to do with your diagnostic, with your offering, be willing to completely pull it aside for the moment. Remember, this is about them, right? It's completely about them and how you serve them better. What you can do is also say, I'm happy to talk about your needs and what you are top of mind for you today. Can we carve out an additional time so I can pick your brain about this offering and this research piece I'm conducting? You will find out that most people will be very happy to do that. And that way, you're making this conversation about them, you're in the moment, and you we'll find that sometimes these conversations actually lead to opportunities that then can turn into projects or proposals or more work for you. And in parallel, you're leaving the door open to talk about your diagnostic. All right. And with that, Josh, you let me know if that helped. And with that, you come to the top of the 15 minutes. So here is the invitation that we wanted to give you. Next week, we're going to have a special session because we have a gentleman named Nick Chevalier, who's a cybersecurity expert, coming into LinkedIn Live with me. So he's going to be here to answer your questions about cybersecurity related to your consulting firm. So put Monday Live in your link in your calendar so that you can join us and you can ask Nick questions live. And also, and thank you, Jaren, for sharing the link. And also, if you want to submit questions in advance and make sure Nick gets to them, send them to info@davidafields.com. That way, Nick can see them in advance. We can get to them during the week, during the 15 minutes, and be sure to join, right? And Nick will be here, I will be here, and we'll be answering your questions. And until next week, make sure to remember that consulting is about our clients. It's about them. It's about creating success for them. And in creating success for them, we create success for all of us. So have a great week, and we'll see you next Monday. Bye.